Hello and welcome to We're Done Pretending. I'm Ben, a coach working with small business owners in one-to-one coaching and gatherings to help them find joy that comes from knowing who you are, what you want, and having the confidence to go out there and get it. I'm joined each episode by a business owner on the sofa who's up for putting down the mask a little bit, going behind the shiny LinkedIn profile and telling the real story of what it's like to be a human on this planet running a business. And hopefully by listening to these stories, you might feel a little less alone in your own. You might learn something about yourself and you might be inspired to do something a little different that will bring a bit more joy into your life. And today I'm joined on the sofa by Lisa.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for agreeing to come and sit down with me.
That's fine.
It's fantastic. And this is the first time we've met, so this is going to be fascinating for me. Really fascinating.
That's cool.
So I start somewhere just to get us started.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Do you know what? I'm probably neither. If I could, I'd love to stay in bed till like 10 o'clock every day and then I'd be back in bed about 9 o'clock every night.
So just keep that.
Just
or
have that short
maximise the
window.
time in bed.
Yeah. But if I was going to choose one, I'd probably say I'm more a morning person.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these people that get out of bed and you can't speak to me for ages. I literally jump out of bed. I'm like, morning!
Ready to go.
And I'm just
I
on.
wish I could be like that, but I'm not.
There's so many people that aren't. Excuse me. But I've always been like that. And I think sensing when people aren't morning people as well, because then my energy is probably a bit too much. And I do love a good night out, but I do like to be in bed at 10 o'clock with reading my book and just chilling out and winding out because I think sleep's so important.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
definitely.
really important. Yeah.
What are you reading at the moment?
And actually, it's really interesting you've asked me that. I'm reading a book called Fallen Stars by an author called Imani Eriu, and she's from Penrith.
Oh, wow.
And I started reading her books because my friend was going to a book signing and she'd self-published her first book, self-published a second book, and then got picked up by a publisher. And I self-published a children's book last year.
That, yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm mega interested to go and find out. So I read the first book and it's like a romance fantasy type book. And I started reading it. I thought, not sure if this is for me. It's all like about star signs and zodiac and other worlds and stuff. But I really got hooked in. So I bought her second book at her book signing and she was so lovely. And I didn't actually realise she was from Penrith. So it was really nice to meet her. And I think I got up to chapter 5 last night and I'm already hooked. So if you like that kind of book, even if you don't like that kind of book, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I run a book club is just to be forced to read books that I wouldn't actually pick up off the shelf.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're rubbish and I really don't enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
But occasionally I'll get something that I think, well, I never would have read this, but actually...
Yeah, I've had that a few times recently, that one.
Yeah.
And then another local author, M.W. Craven.
Oh, yeah, my wife read loads of those.
Yeah, so read his first one and the very first page was quite graphic again. I was like, not sure this is for me. But again, then was totally hooked in and it was all set around Shap and talking about Carlton Hall, police station and stuff. So that was really interesting too. So yeah, I think you need to be open to different...
Open-minded.
Yeah. And
I do love what I love as well though, and will quite happily.
I'm a bit of like a romancy like kind of book. Or maybe some bits of thrillers like Colleen Hoover's, like... or the Housemaid that's been on.
The film that's out at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, so I need to go and see that. So it's quite an open genre. And then I have been reading a lot of children's books recently as well. Being a mum, but also research to write my own children's book. So, and it's really nice being transported back to that world of being a child and like Roald Dahl books and David Walliams and stuff. And so it's actually... I got to a point where I preferred reading the children's books because it was so much more fun. It's like, we'll stick with this for a while.
Stick with a bit of joy.
Yeah.
How old are the kids? Children?
So I have 2.
Yeah.
I have a stepdaughter who's 18, but I consider her mine. I said when I met my husband, it was like buy one, get one free. And we just bonded. She was only 4 when I met her, so that was really nice. And so that's Eve, who's 18. And then I have April, who's 8 as well. So there's a bit of an age gap.
Yeah.
No, April's not 8. No, she's 10. What am I thinking? There's an 8-year age gap. 8-year age gap. So April's 10.
Yeah.
So she's sort of the right age for the type of the age group that I've written a book for. So yeah, so it's an interesting combination. 2 girls with that age gap. And yeah, then being a stepmom and a mum and all that comes with that as well. But yeah, I love being a mum.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll dig into lots of that later.
Loads to dig into.
But tell us about the book. If you said you've written a book, we have to understand. Well, actually, where did the first thought come from that was even something that's possible? Let's start there.
Okay, so it goes back a couple of years, and I discovered this lady who's a numerologist. And she told me that in numerology, I'm a number 3. So I'm a communicator. And she said, you've got a book in you. You need to put your word into the world and you need to write a book. And I thought about it. And obviously, like, my career is in marketing. And I find business books can be quite boring or hard going. It's not the kind of book I would want to read when I went to bed to relax. So I was like, well, what could this marketing book be? Would it be fun? It has to be different. And then I was like, why am I trying to force writing a marketing book? Not to say that I wouldn't do that one day. I was like, actually, I think it might be a children's book that I want to write. You think about the future and what that looks like. And I thought, oh, I'd love to be an artist or a writer or, sit by a beach and write and just, the things that you think about in the future. And I was like, I'd love to do something creative like that. But then because my little girl has such a passion for reading, like I loved reading as a kid, but hers is on a whole other level. And seeing how much she loved books, I was like, oh, maybe I think it might be a children's book I want to write. But I just couldn't think of what it would be. And then one day we were driving along and I'd picked her up from school and she said, oh, we had PE today. And she didn't really like PE. She said, oh, we had basketball, but the teacher said I was really good at basketball. And I was like, oh, right, well, that must be because you've got really long legs. You could be a basketball player when you're older. And she looked at me in disgust and she was like, don't be stupid, mummy. I am going to be a doctor. And she's always wanted to be a doctor. And as I was driving along, it was like it just hit me in the head, this idea. I was like, wouldn't it be great to have a children's doctor who has all these crazy hobbies and takes children on magical adventures in her magic lift? So the story is called Dr. April and the Rainbow Farts.
Yeah.
And which actually, using the word fart, a few people have questioned me about it. And even I struggled with it. And when I told my mum and dad that I'd written, I was like, it's Dr. April and the Rainbow Farts. Because I felt really naughty, because we didn't say that word when we were kids. We would like pump or trump. And, but it doesn't have the same ring, does it?
No.
And like kids these days will say fart. So I was like, right, Dr. April and the Rainbow Farts. And then my dad's been quite poorly over the last 5 years, and there was loads of different things that happened to him in hospital or things that we've experienced that were just a bit like crazy, or some of the characters. So I've fed in the Dr. April character based on loosely on my little girl, and then some of the experiences and the characters that we've met in hospital along the years. That sort of all weave together. But my dad, bless him, when you talk to him, he's like, he gets worried about the rainbow farts thing because he thinks that's about him. And I'm like, Dad, no, honestly, really, it's not. So that's sort of where the idea came from. And when I sat down and wrote it, I wrote it in about 3 months. And then I tried to look at getting it traditionally published, as you would. And then it wasn't until I met a local lady who'd put something on LinkedIn about she's always worked in publishing, wanted to get back into that area. Does anybody want to publish a workbook? And I was like, what about a children's book? So we talked about the pros and cons of traditional versus self-publishing. And I decided to self-publish.
To go for it.
Yeah, with her support. And I worked with a children's book editor who I literally said to her, just like pull it apart, give me your honest opinion. I want to know. Like, I'd written a story, but I didn't know if it was any good or not. So she was amazing at really looking through it and like, would a child understand this word? Does this make sense? Explain this differently. And in my job, you almost get a lot of constructive criticism because you're writing lots of content and video, and it has to be changed a lot. So it really didn't bother me that
you were
I
ready
wanted
for that process.
I didn't want somebody to just look at it and go,
yeah,
oh yeah, it's really good. I wanted someone to tear it apart to make it even better. So I feel like, and some of the feedback that I've had from children, excuse me, has just been incredible. I had a lady send me a message recently who said her little boy, he's 11, he's autistic, and he's never read a proper book. It's always graphic novels or comics. And she's bought it just like to support me as an emerging author. And she said he sat and read it for 2 hours nonstop. And then the next night went and read it to his little sister. And he wanted to know when the next one was coming out. So when you get feedback like that, to think, wow, I've inspired a child to pick up a book and read, nothing really beats that. Like, that's such a proud moment. And I have lots of proud moments at work. But that was like something that came out of my brain, and nobody else has written anything like that before. So I've had lots of little proud moments like that. And now I just need to write book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5. But, it seems harder to find the time now. I just feel like I'm busy all the time.
Yeah. Yes. If only we had more time.
I know.
That's amazing. And what an incredible story. I'm interested in whether there were moments of doubt during that process and how you kept going.
I think with a lot of things over the year, once I get an idea in my head, I'm going. And another trait of a number 3 communicator is like, I'm full of ideas, always got loads of crazy ideas. And quite often, sometimes I'll see the idea through and then it gets to the next point and then I like leave it. So I feel maybe like I've done that a bit with the writing, but I feel like once I have conviction in my ideas, I just go for it. And that's what I'm going to do. I've got it in my head and I make it work. And I think the point where when I worked with that book editor and she said to me, it didn't take her ages to go through it and credit to my writing, that was sort of like a massive validation that she works in the industry and said to me, no, it's really good what you've written here. I can't wait to see what you do with it and how you take this forward. And then my biggest critic, obviously, is my daughter.
Absolutely, yeah. And
I said to her, like, I gave her, I wrote 3 or 4 manuscripts. And the first one was like, you've got to tell me if you think it's rubbish, because she would. And when she's like, oh, I love it, mummy. I'm like, you sure? And there was only like one bit. She was like, I don't feel like you've described one of the characters. I don't know what she looks like. I'm like, that's a very good point. So she helped me with that. So I think even if I'd put it out in the world and nobody had bought it, I would have still felt proud that it was a story that was out there and that my girls could look at me and think. The idea was, if you put your mind to something, you can do whatever you want. And that's what I say to the girls. If you want to April, if you want to be a doctor, I have no doubt that you will do that. You really got to know what you want to do and go for it. And I think I've always had that attitude. So it was the same with the book, really. I don't really care if nobody liked it or didn't think it was good. I mean, you want that, don't you? You obviously want people to think it's good and buy it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just needed to do that thing.
To do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we go back to your childhood then? I'm fascinated to understand how your childhood has produced the adult that you are now. Well, you said you weren't a massive reader, but you were reading. What?
Yeah, I did like reading. I was quite...
Who you were.
Yeah.
Age 10, at the age your daughter
10,
is now.
I probably what you'd call a swot. I was very conscientious, very keen. I loved school, but I was very shy, which I think a lot of people get quite surprised by because... excuse me, I think particularly on social media, you know, we all show this image, and I have my marketing hat, I put that on, and it doesn't faze me to stand up and speak or to be on a video or to be on social media. But as a child, I was so quiet, like painfully shy. And like if we went to family parties, if my mum moved, I was straight by her side. If she went to the toilet, I went with her. If she went to the buffet, I went with her. I was so quiet, and I'd always sit like this with my shoulders up, and it was so quiet. And, but going through school, I was very quiet. I was probably in that group that, not the geeky group, not the cool kids, you know, like the floaters in the middle that everyone got on with. And I was always just like happy. And I don't think it wasn't until I went to university that I sort of came out of my shell a bit and met different people. And I feel like probably when I was younger, you got this little bit of a stereotype of, oh, you're a swot type thing. Didn't have a boyfriend and was just quite quiet. But I feel quite proud of that though, because I feel like that's made me who I am.
Yeah.
I'm quite aware of other people that might be shy or quiet. You know, when I'm talking to people about doing social media or talking and stuff, I know that everybody doesn't like doing that.
How it can feel.
Yeah. So yeah, I was a quiet girl, but always happy. I remember I had a really lovely childhood. Just, yeah, I was very close with I have an older brother, but he was always like my younger brother. And we were very protective of each other. Had, yeah, loving family. But yeah, I was this sweet, quiet, innocent little girl from Cumbria.
And tell me the university story then. What did you go and study?
So I studied, I changed halfway through. So I set off, I went to the University of Central Lancashire in Preston. And because it wasn't too far from home, because I didn't want to go very far, because I was a home girl. And I remember my mum used to always say, oh yeah, our Lisa, she'll go to university. I was like, I don't want to go to university. I want to go to Carlisle Art College, because I was very arty and creative, and I wanted to go and like be a sculptor or a painter or something. So it never crossed my mind until all my friends were looking at university, and I sat down with my art teacher, who I was really close with, and she's like, you need to do something that's academic but creative. So we started looking for all the prospectuses, and I found at the University of Central Lancashire, they did combined honours degrees. So in my first year of university, I did fashion promotion, history of art and marketing. But I hated marketing, which is quite ironic. That now I've built a career in marketing. Absolutely hated it at university. History of art was not like it was at school. It was very boring. I was like, oh no, this is not for me. But I really loved fashion promotion. So I spoke to my tutors, and then I moved on to a single honours fashion promotion, which included a year in industry. But after having a year in industry and working in a fashion PR company in London, I soon realised that the fashion industry was not for me. It was very pretentious. It was just, I mean, I had a great experience living in London, you know, when I was 20, but I was like, this is not for me. So my final year, I just concentrated on more of the marketing side of fashion and lifestyle brands and products and things like that, instead of specifically the fashion industry. But it was a brilliant course. But I think the thing for me about university, and me and my husband often have this debate because he didn't go to university and he's got a brilliant career. For me, it was being that sweet, innocent child from Cumbria, moving to only Preston. And I remember once with my friends walking into the cinema and going, oh, there's more than one screen? What? And just thinking that was the most insane thing. And it was like they all protected me as this sweet, innocent, naive girl from Cumbria. I remember my mum dropping me off at university on the first day in halls, and there was this crazy Scouse girl called Nicolan, and with her bags of shopping, just dumping stuff and then going out drinking. And my mum's like, oh my God, where have we left her? But I met the most amazing group of girls. There's a big group of 12 of us, and we're all still in touch. We all try and meet up once a year. And it really shaped me into the person who I am. It's like I came out of my shell, and I remember coming back to Penrith. Like, you know, everybody comes back at Christmas. I'm walking into the pub and people are like, who's this? Because I was like, hi, I'm back. And I'd got all this confidence, and like boys were interested in me. I'd never really had that before. Just little things like making your own food and washing up for yourself and just having to look after yourself and having to speak for yourself as well instead of like hiding behind my parents.
Yeah.
It really gave me so much more confidence. And I don't think that if I hadn't have gone to university, yes, getting a degree is amazing. And I'm not sure I'd be doing what I do now if I hadn't have done that. But I don't think I would have been the same person. I think I've got so much more life experience than I would have if I hadn't moved away. And I always say, you know, there are so many opportunities in Cumbria, and it's fantastic. But I do think for like just getting out there and experiencing living in a city, like I lived, you know, Preston's not huge, but then going to London and then after that moving to Manchester and Liverpool and living in all these different places, I feel like I have so much more life experience to help me with work and to guide my kids as well. And I can give them examples of things that happened to me when I was younger. So going to university was like a massive changing point in my life. Of just making me a more confident version. I still feel like sometimes I'm quite shy, or I'm still that sweet, innocent girl from Cumbria, but I have that more confidence. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. It is amazing, isn't it? University and its ability just to give us those life experiences.
Definitely. And I think the difficult thing now, like my stepdaughter is trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. And I think, like, say if it was my youngest who I want to be a doctor, I know what I want to do. It's like, well, you need to go to university. Whereas my stepdaughter doesn't really know, and she's like, should I go to university? And I think the difference is now, yes, it's great for that life experience, but you don't always get a job at the end of it. And then you have so much more debt now as well. And I think it's really difficult. You know, there's so many more opportunities now for work experience and apprenticeships to do other things and try things out. And you can get life experience doing all those kind of things. But I think now it's harder. I don't know if I was in the position how it is these days. Would I have gone to university? Would I have? Because who knows what you want to do when you're 18, really. And I did fashion, but I didn't end up working in the fashion industry. So then that would have blown 40 grand.
That's
you know?
it, yeah.
Like,
the plan never works out, does it? Or it rarely works out.
Yeah.
What did 10-year-old you want to be?
Probably everything. Excuse me. When I look back, it's those typical things you want to be when you're a little girl. I wanted to be a pop star.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be an air hostess. I remember those being like 3 key things. And then when I went to school, I was definitely like really arty and creative. So I went to work in a graphic designer's. I thought, yeah, I'm going to be a graphic designer. And I was like, I do not want to work in an office. But I think it's, again, that awkward thing about when you're a kid and shy of going into an office and being given something to do and sitting at a desk and being like, oh my God, I don't know who to talk to, I don't know what to say, feeling really awkward. And I think that was the thing that put me off working in an office, not necessarily the graphic design. But I was like, yeah, I don't want to work in an office. And that's why I think I decided I wanted to be like an artist or something that was a bit more flexible. But then it was my art teacher. Oh no, I wanted to be an art teacher. That was it. And I said to her, I really want to be an art teacher. And she was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And I still sometimes think maybe I should have been an art teacher. As people say, I'm very good at explaining things and teaching things. And sometimes get a bit jealous if I meet other people are like, oh, I'm an art teacher. I'm like, oh, are you? I would love to do that. But yeah, I ended up going on this route and this is, yeah, where it's led me.
Where it's led you. Let's join the dots then. So on leaving uni,
Yeah.
what did you go to do?
So I came back home for a few months and worked in a little PR company in Penrith. Just managed to get an opportunity there.
Yeah.
And I think I did really well. Like, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. And the boss was like, right, what are you doing? Are you going to stay? You can work for me. You can be my like a senior account executive. And I was like, oh, do I want to stay in Penrith? And a couple of my other friends had come home. So we went out one night and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to move to Manchester. Who's coming? One of my other friends said, yeah, I'll come with you. So we literally got in the car, drove to Manchester, found a flat. And a week later we moved in. We had no jobs, nothing, maybe a little bit of money we'd saved over the summer. And we just moved down to Manchester randomly. And I think like that's quite a scary thing as well. So we'd be 21 and just be like, yeah, let's do it. No job or anything. And then I managed to get a temp job working for, they were called Great Universal. It's now Shop Direct, which it was a catalogue company. You know, like when you were a kid, you used to get the catalogues and like flick through and stuff. So it was working for a catalogue company, and I was an assistant buyer in the homewares department. And I ended up staying there for 2 years. I thought, maybe like, carpets and bedding wasn't really exciting. So I moved over to fashion, and then I was doing like men's elasticated trousers and Y fronts and stuff. I'm like, but there was something I thought it'd be quite creative, that job, but there was lots of spreadsheets and working out margins and merchandising and stuff. And I was like, again, I'm not sure this is quite for me, but I always go back to being creative and the arts and theatre. And I think I must have been to the theatre with my mum usually. And when I go to the theatre, I get goosebumps. And quite often it makes me cry. Even in happy moments, I'm sat there like crying my eyes out. And my mum's looking at me like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I need to work in the arts. So I'd go and do like my 9 to 5. I'd come home. This was in Manchester. I'd come home and I would literally just look for organisations, and I used to pimp myself out to people. I'll work for you for free. I just want to do your marketing. I'll design posters. I'll do PR, like whatever you need me to do. So I ended up working for Sale Sharks rugby team with the Red Cross and promoting a youth production at the Lowry Theatre. And because of doing that, I then started looking for other jobs in arts, marketing, theatre. And I went for an interview at this arts company called Walk the Plank. And they rang me afterwards and they're like, we've given the job to somebody internal. We had to sort of advertise an interview, but we thought you were great. We loved how you're just really trying to find a job in arts marketing. We'd love to mentor you. It's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you. So that was all happening or about to start happening. And then they called me back like a month later and like, yeah, the person we gave the job to has now left. Do you want it? It's like, do I want it? So I ended up working at Walk the Plank for 4 years. And still now, it's probably one of the best jobs I ever had. They were the most crazy bunch of people to work with, but it was in arts marketing. And they had a touring theatre ship. So it'd sail all around the UK, like it used to come to Whitehaven. So it'd sail into port, dock up, and then the crew would turn into the actors and they would turn it into the theatre. So we promoted that, and then they did large-scale theatre and outdoor theatre and fireworks. So, every bonfire night, I'd maybe be down in London doing a massive firework display with them and stuff like that. It was just amazing. And then it got to a point where I was just like, what's the next thing? Have I outgrown it? There was nobody above me in marketing. There was sort of nowhere to really go. And as you do, I met a boy from Liverpool. So I moved to Liverpool. over to the Wirral. And I ended up getting a job at the Beatles Story in Liverpool. And I think the reason I got that job was because I love 60s music and spent many a Saturday afternoon with my mum dancing around the living room, listening to her old 45s, and absolutely loved the Beatles. So I think my knowledge of the Beatles, and then obviously marketing as well. So I got a job as the marketing team leader at the Beatles Story, which I absolutely loved. Again, it was a fantastic job, but just quite a mean boss. And there was quite a high turnover of staff. And I was then headhunted by another visitor attraction called the Bug World Experience, which was like an insectarium. So I decided to leave the Beatles Story and move to Bug World. And after 6 weeks, they decided to make everybody redundant and close down. And it was only 3 weeks before Christmas as well. So it was a bit of like, it was awful at the time. But that was sort of like the way that I got into marketing and how like arts marketing developed as well. And that's like the little twisty turny route that my career took while I was away. So that, from little quite quiet, shy Lisa to all the like working at all these amazing places. It was just fantastic. And that's what's sort of gave me that really good foundation and grounding in marketing. Yeah.
How did it feel, that redundancy moment?
I remember because the other visitor attraction, both of them were in the Albert Dock in Liverpool. And I just left the office and went back to my old friends at the Beatles Store. I was like, just crying. Oh my God, guess what's happened? I remember it was snowing and it was just, didn't feel real because everybody had this false sense of security that everything was going to be okay because I'd just come on board. And they're like, well, they're not going to make people redundant if you've just started
somebody.
And I was sales and marketing manager. And it was going really well. And it's so frustrating. I hadn't really even been able to like put into place all the plans and things that I had. And I remember the director sitting down with me. The company that owned it, they were based in Ireland, and the directors had come over and he sat down and he's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, surely you must have known that the business was in such dire straits. Like, why would you take me on? Like, I've left. I mean, you're never going to get made redundant from the Beatles Story. Like, that's, it's a really secure brand. And they were like, we're just really sorry. You can just go. You don't have to work like any notice or anything. Had no redundancy pay or anything because I hadn't been there long enough. But they're like, guess there isn't anything for you to promote. Whereas other people had to stay and wind things down. They were like, just go. So I just went and got my bag and coat and rang my mum and just was like, can you come and get me? So it was 3 weeks before Christmas. I remember coming back up here and I don't know why, it was really, really cold, Joe. Like got to like -12 or something. I remember going out and buying loads of jumpers because it was freezing. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I was looking at loads of jobs back down in Liverpool, still had a flat there. I'd split up with my boyfriend at the time, so it was just me.
Just you.
And my dad was like, oh, well, we need some extra help at work. Like he worked for an oil distribution company in Carlisle. He's like, come on, work. I think I maybe asked him, like, they were saying they're really busy. I was like, is there anything I can do to help? I can't just sit around and do nothing. So I went and I was doing some data input for them, like. And I remember crying on the way home once. I was like, is this what it's come to? But I had that period over Christmas just to think, like, what am I going to do? And I thought, do you know what? I don't know if I want to go back to Liverpool. I feel like I was 30 at the time and I thought maybe just let's see what opportunities there are up in Cumbria. So I started looking around at different visitor attractions because that's where my experience had primarily been. And I sent out little packets of forget-me-not seeds and a little letter just saying, if you ever need some help with marketing, like, don't forget about me type thing. And Lau the Castle had just got loads of funding then to develop into a tourist attraction. And they got in touch and like, oh, really interesting CV. Do you fancy like coming along, having a talk with us? We don't have any jobs, but maybe freelance. So that was like the penny dropped. I thought, oh, what's to say if they need somebody? Other people might need freelancers. Ironically, I never worked with Lau the Castle. We had lots of meetings and lovely conversations, but nothing ever happened. But it just planted that seed that I needed. And that's where the name of my business came from as well, because I said to my mum, there's something about planting seeds and them growing. And she was like, it's acorns. Like, no, I'm sure it's seeds. There's something about seeds. And she was like, it's acorns. And then I like Googled it. I was like, yeah, it's acorns. So that's why my business is called Acorn Marketing. But at the time, it was devastating. It was like, I'm never going to get a job. I've got no money. I've got no savings. I'm never going to meet a man in Penrith. Like, it was just like, what? It was like a total go back to basics and restart.
Start again.
And my parents owned a flat that had previously been my grandma's flat. And she'd passed away a few years before and they'd rent it out and it just happened to be empty. And because I was like, I don't know if I can live at home like when I'm 30. And they totally got that. I have the most wonderful, supportive parents that were really just like, you do you, just whatever you need to do. You can stay in grandma's old flat. I was like, really? So I literally went back to what I'd been like when I was pimping myself out to people and just going, I'll do any work for you for free. Whereas this time I was literally like charging £10 an hour, I think, and just putting myself out there. And I ended up working with Penrith Chamber of Trade, of helping them with their marketing. Well, then that other people were seeing what I was doing. So then asked me to help with their marketing as well. And that's sort of how my business built up. But at the time, it was really scary. It was like, what? Like, redundancy is frightening. But I think because I had no children at the time, I wasn't married, I had no mortgage. It was literally just me and I was free. Like, I could have taken any turn. Yeah. I could have gone back to Liverpool and worked in an agency or something. Or I've still got so many contacts in Liverpool. I would have probably been able to find a job. But I just felt this pull to come back to my roots and come back to Cumbria and be near family. And it was definitely the best decision that I made. So I feel like it was fate. At the time, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Like, it was horrendous. But it was meant to happen. It was meant to happen, definitely.
Yeah. I'm going to pause for a moment just to say that the podcast is funded and sponsored, if you like, by my work coaching. So that's both one-to-one and through gatherings. If you are enjoying the story so far, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe, or if you have 15 more seconds, leave a review wherever you're listening, and you can hear more about the podcast's tips, tricks, and ideas to bring more joy into your life at reflectiverebels.co.uk/newsletter. Just to weirdly stick that in there in the middle.
Gotta do these things.
Gotta do these things for our marketing.
Yes, of course.
That's amazing. Do you know, I love that penny drop moment, because I had a similar story.
Really?
I would have never have conceived of having my own business.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it.
It didn't cross my mind at all in the realms of something I would ever do until being made redundant. And I love that there's that thing of,
I'm like,
that's a thing.
Maybe I can get paid for it. And it was, it's so funny that you said that as well, because I'd never ever thought running a business was, I never really thought it was a thing.
No, it just doesn't go in. No.
Yeah. Even though like at school I did Young Enterprise.
Yeah.
And I was the marketing person. When I feel like, and like when I think right back to primary school, I used to make bookmarks and sell them to classmates. And then in secondary school, we used to live in a sweet shop, like a grocery shop. I used to take extra strong mints in every day and sell them. And I'm like, maybe I've always had that entrepreneurial type of spirit. And then again, when you take a step back, I look at all the men in my family, most of them, have been self-employed. My granddad used to have a big abattoir and butchers in Penrith. Then my uncle and all my cousins ended up running that business at one point. Loads of my cousins are self-employed. My dad was always self-employed. Generally, we used to live in a bakery near Kendal, in Burton in Kendal. He used to own the bakery there, and that's where I spent a couple of years when I was 2 or 3. And then we lived in a shop growing up. So for quite a lot of my teenage years, my dad owned his own business. But I never thought that was something that I would do. But it was right in front of me. And I sometimes wish that I could. My granddad passed away when I was 10. And I sometimes wish I'd love to be able to have a conversation with him. How do you think I would have fit into your business? Or I think he would be really, really proud of me that my family's pretty much dominated by men. There's so many men, there's not many women, but all the men have been self-employed. I was the first person in the family to go to university. And the fact that I'm a girl doing that and that I'm running a successful business, I think my granddad, because I know my parents are so proud of me, but I think I would love to just sit and have a conversation with him. What do you think?
I'm doing
it too.
I'm doing it.
But yeah, I just never thought that would be a thing. And just thought I'd come up here and get a job. But I think the thing with Cumbria as well is once somebody gets into that marketing role in a visitor attraction or a theatre or something, they're in that role for a long time. So I was like, there just wasn't, I couldn't see any openings. But since being self-employed, I have seen a couple of opportunities and been like,
being tempted.
Oh my God, that's my dream job. Oh my God. And I say to my husband about it, he's like, yeah, but would you have the flexibility? Would you be able to earn the same amount of money? There's some things that come with running your own business that is just, you can't put a price on it. It's just priceless. And I've really learned that over the last, say, 10 years as well, that how valuable that is. And I think it's, regardless of how much money you earn, it's having that job satisfaction and that flexibility and being a business owner that's just, can't put a price on it.
It is amazing. They're the good bits then. What are the harder bits of having your own business? Because it's not all roses and bows.
There's loads, isn't there? I think one of the things is always having that constant, it's almost like a little weight or a little cloud that comes around with you of, what if that client disappeared? Or what if there's a point where I can't pay myself? And maybe I worry about that sometimes a bit too much because there's money in the bank and I'd be okay because I literally started with nothing and I was okay. And there's been times, I've built my business up over the years, but I know the bare bones of what I can survive on. So
there's
I'm always
though,
okay.
Isn't there? You could have had 24 good months, but you're still worrying about is the next one going to be?
Oh gosh, yeah.
You're right. It does never goes. I don't think.
Yeah, it's just always there. And I think one of the hardest things, even though having that flexibility is a godsend, it's really difficult to juggle everything. Like if I wasn't married, didn't have kids, didn't have parents that all need me, I would just sit at my desk all the time and I would probably have a 7-figure business. Maybe. But because life gets in the way, that juggle and having that mum guilt or I have carer guilt with my dad of not spending enough time with them or not spending enough time on the business, or if a client's emailing or texting but I'm with my kids on a day off or something, that swing, I find that quite difficult. But I do like being able to sometimes come to my desk and just shut the world out and get on with things. Find it, I would say sitting at my desk is like respite. Yeah. Even though you might be you're doing work, doesn't really feel like work because I love it so much. But I think that just constant juggle of everything, and I think that's part of being a mum as well, all the stuff that you have to juggle, it's just constant. that's probably one of the hardest things to deal with as well. I think that wanting to give it more, wanting to like feed the business, but you can't always, I can't give it all the time that I could. And then I would say like horrid clients, but I don't really have. There's only a few people over the years that I've had problems with. Everyone generally is like great that I work with. I think I know how to spot the bad eggs and like the red flags and like, oh.
Yeah, and that is the joy of it.
Yeah.
We don't have to work with people we don't want to work with.
Just sack them off if they get a bit
Just
difficult.
work with fab people.
Yeah, definitely.
Who want to do fab stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you cope then with the juggle? If you've got any tips for survival, we all want to hear them.
Yeah. I think I've been able to set really good boundaries.
Yeah.
So I've always been, because I work from home, you would think you'd always have that temptation to be at your desk. But I've always been like, when I'm with my little girl, I don't answer work calls. I might quickly sneak a little look at my emails when she's not looking, but I'm like, that's my time with her. And I'm very good at, say, Friday night at 5:00 or any night, shut the door to my office. That's it. I've wound down for the day. Now I'm in mum, Lisa, wife mode. And similarly, that if I'm like visiting my dad who's in a care home, I don't, if a client rang me, I don't answer my phone. I'm like, they can wait because this is important. And just really looking at capacity and time as well, of knowing when a client asks me to do something, I've been really realistic with them. I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that this week. Are you okay if it's next week? Or can we figure this out, figure that? I mean, yes, there are times when I've sat up till midnight and sometimes, you've just got to get the thing done. But that's more because I take pride in my work and I like to do the best job I can for my clients. But I think I've set really clear boundaries, got into a good routine and trying to put time in my calendar for me. So I'll actually write in my diary, like, this is when I exercise. Or on a Friday, I have it as like a business admin day. I don't have client meetings on a Friday. Or even putting the dog walk in. You know, I go for a walk, I drop my little girl off at school and I just keep walking and go for a walk in the morning. So I think of, a lot of people call it a work-life balance, but I like to think of it as a work-life blend. So it just doesn't, you don't want it to feel like that big juggle and you're spinning loads of plates, and just trying to be realistic and like making sure that I make some time for myself, because that, particularly since my dad's been poorly over the last 5 years, that's been really important to make sure that I try and find some time for me as well.
Yeah.
And I think writing a children's book was a bit of an escape. I joined a choir about a year ago, which I absolutely love. And I said to my husband, if I ever feel tired on a Monday night and I don't want to go, force me, because it just makes you feel alive and amazing. And then like putting in the calendar, like when I'm going to see my best friend, or we're going to catch up on this day at this time, and we put it in the diary. Because otherwise I think you get lost in it all. Yeah. And I think that I probably have got a little bit lost in it all over the last few years, but just things are a bit more stable now, that I think just trying to find, so it all blends together. Like when I go and sit at my desk, it doesn't almost feel like I'm going to work, because it's just part of who I am and my life, and all blends in and mixes in. Yeah. But it is hard. It is really hard as a business owner to get to that point. And there would be times when I would sit up till midnight, loads of nights, and work weekends. But I think having children, you've got to give them time as well. But I hope they look and think, look at my mum running a business. And I hope that they would feel proud of me for doing that as well. And try and inspire, like my stepdaughter particularly. I think she could have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. So try and like coax it out of her if I can, and hopefully that I would inspire them
to go for it.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to the book then, and this, because you've mentioned this creative thread. How does it feel to kind of get back? Because you said art teacher, artist, sort of leaving school, but then that moment of getting to the point where you've put, because you're doing it for clients, obviously. There must be a creative aspect to what you do, but it must be different to have created something for yourself that is purely your creation.
Yeah, I think when I look back throughout my life, I've always had to do something creative. Like when I worked at the Beatles Story, I was like, I needed that. I needed to make something. Sounds really random. I used to make mirrors, like bespoke mirrors, and go to craft fairs and sell them because I just had to do that thing. And like now I'm going to the Grand National in April because I'm celebrating 15 years in business, and we might have already been by the point this comes out. Yeah, so I've just been to Grand National, but even then I was like, what am I going to wear? Maybe I'll make a dress. So I have a sewing machine. So like this weekend I'm decorating my little girl's bedroom, but not just giving it a lick of paint.
Yeah,
she wants cherry blossom, and so I'm like, oh. So it's like an invitation for me to get creative and do something. So I am very creative for my clients, and sometimes it's like they can see the cogs whirring and I come out with these really random, crazy ideas and like, oh my God, where does that come from? I'm just that kind of person. But to actually have something that I've made, like my house is full of, like I've got sculptures when I was doing A-levels, or mirrors, and me and my daughter are always having craft days, and I really get into it, like a bit too much. But the book, I guess, felt different in that other things that I make maybe feel a bit raw, and I've just got to get my hands in and get them done.
Yeah.
This feels like professional creativity in a way. I guess I'm probably more used to like making stuff and having things that I can wear or use or put on the wall. Whereas that, it feels special in a way, like when you hold it, it's like, look, it's like a proper book.
This is the thing.
It's not just, like one that I took to the printer myself and I had a few copies, but like it's actually like a proper book with an ISBN number and stuff. So it feels quite special in that way, definitely.
It is special.
Yeah. And it's something that not everyone can say that they've done. Like there's not many people that can say they've written a book and it's out there and that anyone can go and buy it. So that's pretty cool.
It is, yeah. What's next then, do you think? More of that?
It's definitely a series. And I've had another one of those moments so there's another idea in here of a children's book that I need to get out. It's just, I think when you've got a creative mind, there is a lot stuck up there and you have to get these ideas out. So there's definitely some more books. It's just having the time to carve out to write those books. But I always come back to like the arts and theatre. And since I started my business, I've worked with like so many different clients, like from writing blogs on biomass and nuclear to puddings and finance, literally everything you can think of. I've probably done some sort of marketing on it. But I do marketing for a visitor attraction up here, and the work that I do for them, absolutely love it. And I'm like, well, that's where my foundations are, and I always go back to it. So I've really been trying to niche down this year and trying to work with more visitor attractions, more arts organisations, theatres. And I actually had an inquiry last week from a theatre company in Manchester. So I am so giddy and excited that actually might happen. So I'm like, why don't I always just do that? Because it's who I am. It's what I'm passionate about, marketing and the arts and theatre and tourism. So I'm just really trying to get back to that again. So I think the next part of my business will be really niching down into that, like to be creative. Space. Yeah, being in that space and more writing. I'd definitely love to do more writing. And I think the day-to-day creativity, like making outfits or doing craft days and stuff, that will always just be there. It's just part of who I am. Crazy, creative, arty lady.
I love that. I love it.
I don't think I've ever described myself as that though before. A crazy, creative, arty lady. Yeah. Fits though. Maybe not the crazy bit. I don't know if I would say I'm crazy.
No, but
it's there, definitely. It flows through me in creativity.
yeah.
And I think that it's one of my strongest strengths, if you like. It's being creative, but like I'm super organised, super efficient, which maybe a lot of creative arty people are quite scatty and all over the place. I know when I worked for Walk the Plank, there were some crazy people work for that company and like really quirky and out there.
Yeah.
I'm not quite like that, but it definitely, it's in my blood. Creativity, definitely.
To wrap us up then, if you could have that conversation with your granddad,
Yeah.
what would you say?
Are you going to give me a job? Do you know what? It's really sad, right? Because I'm not a numbers person. Like I've said, I'm really arty, really creative. My husband's a financial advisor. I leave the maths and money. I have my own money. I look after that and I can sort it out for the business. Leave all that stuff to him. But I'd really love to look at my granddad's books and be like, what was your turnover? And like I say to my dad sometimes now, I mean, he's forgetting a lot of stuff. He's got a rare brain disease. And I was like, what kind of turnover did you do, Dad? Like, what sort of profit was that? I was never have thought of that when I was younger. But I'd be really intrigued to know, because I always looked up at my granddad as like a really good businessman and things that family, like he was really well respected within like agriculture and stuff. And I think he was just a personable person. I don't think he was very good with money, and I believe that he went bankrupt a couple of times. But the business itself, I think, was very successful. I would just love to know. I'm like, what did that look like? Was that 6 figures? Was that 7 figures? Or was it less than that? Or like, you know, thinking about that would have been in like the 60s and 70s. Yeah. Like, what did that look like at the time? Really intrigues me. I'd love to see a set of old accounts. Is that really sad? What did you earn, Grandad?
I don't know. I suppose that's the combination though, isn't it? The artistic side and the business side has to come together for us to do what we do.
Yeah. Because otherwise you've got to have... And I think this is why me and my husband work. We're very different. Like, he probably wouldn't come to an art gallery or a theatre with me. Likewise, I probably would very rarely go to the football with him. But we're quite different. He's logical, sensible, mathematical, black and white, creative, emotional and rainbow. But it works. Yeah. And you've got to have that. And he's recently set up his own business as well. And he's asking me about the marketing stuff. But I often ask him about the financial things, and it just works. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, that's amazing. And I must get a copy of the book, and I can't wait to see the next you share. We can sort that out. We can sort that out.
Yeah, I'll send you one.
What an amazing story.
Thank you.
What an amazing story. Thank you.
It's nice to reflect, because I don't think that you often sit and reflect on your journey and how far you've come. And it's nice to sit and think about that sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And thank you for listening. If Lisa's story has inspired you and you want some more rainbows in your life, then I suppose the lesson is that you can just go and do it. And I think perhaps another reflection of mine is that sometimes it is the moments that feel the hardest in our lives, the bleakest, the moments of redundancy.
Yeah.
If you're in one of those moments right now, often that is the time before it all starts to click.
Exactly.
And the wonderful stuff starts to happen. So maybe hang on in there. Keep an open mind to the penny that drops and life changes in a direction that you didn't expect. Yeah. So thank you very much for listening. Subscribe, leave a review, drop me a rating, and that would be much appreciated. For a small independent podcast like this, it means the world.